Prince Andrew would fly off the handle if we've not opened the gate for him in time, or if we've stopped one of his guests because we've not got the right ID or we haven't been given any information of who they are. It would be verbally abusive. Shout, swear, yeah, just a really rude individual.
A middle-aged man erupting in fury at palace staff, not over broken heirlooms or tardiness, but because a stuffed animal was misplaced. This scene sets the foundation for understanding everything that followed: the disastrous Newsnight appearance, the legal settlements, the eventual arrest. It all stems from one core reality: a person who viewed the entire world as his personal service, surrounded by a system trained never to challenge his behavior.
And this, I think, is what is totally frustrating members of the royal family. He has always had a sense of entitlement. He's always been convinced by his royalness.
A young lady turned up, probably about 22, 23 years old, said she was here to see Prince Andrew. He just came in about half hour previous, so we knew he was in, but the footman wasn't answering his phone. There was no way of us contacting anyone up there, so we just politely said to the lady, "We're really sorry, we can't let you in at the moment because we can't confirm you're expected." So she said, "Oh, shall I ring him on my mobile?" So we said, "Yeah, fine." So she rang Prince Andrew on her mobile, and we could hear him clearly. He said, put an officer on the phone. So my colleague took the phone and he said, "Listen to me, you fat lady ass. Let my guest in immediately, I'm going to come down there." Everyone heard it. The lady went red, apologised, and we just let her in. So after that, obviously, those sort of issues we had with him, we would just let women in, didn't ask questions because we just did not want to agree.
Paul Page served as an armed protection officer in the Royalty Protection Command from 1998 to 2004, spending 6 years within Buckingham Palace walls. His duties included safeguarding the Queen, Prince Philip, and Andrew during this extended period.
Lady Maxwell, she was a very frequent guest of Prince Andrew. She was a regular visitor.
Among all the royals Page worked alongside, he singles out Andrew as the most problematic. Not merely challenging or high maintenance, but genuinely the worst, minus characterized by verbal abuse, explosive reactions to trivial matters, and insulation within a structure that ensured his actions never faced real consequences.
I mean, complaints were made about him. You know, he was a rude, obnoxious, horrible individual, but no one was going to take a complaint to the royal household because he's the Queen's favourite.
Before dismissing Page as merely a bitter former employee, consider what makes his testimony impossible to ignore. It's not his personal opinions that carry weight. It's the extraordinary level of specific detail he provides.
On this particular occasion, went into Prince Andrew's bedroom and his apartments, and on his bed was 72 teddy bears on his bed.
Page described a bedroom containing approximately 50 to 60 stuffed animals meticulously arranged on Andrew's bed, according to a laminated diagram, an actual printed laminated chart dictating the precise placement of each toy.
My inspector showed me a laminated card, which is in the side drawer of one of the bedroom cabinets, of a picture of these teddy bears, all in situ.
When housekeeping staff accidentally displaced even one stuffed animal during cleaning and failed to restore it to its exact position, Andrew would allegedly explode with screaming fits rather than simple complaints.
And he said the reason for that picture is that the maids have to put them back exactly like it's in that picture. He said if they don't, he shouts and screams.
Nobody fabricates a laminated teddy bear positioning chart. That's not the kind of story someone concocts for revenge. Such bizarrely specific details only exist when someone has actually witnessed them firsthand.
She says she met you in 2001. She dined with you. She danced with you. You bought her drinks. You were in Tramp nightclub in London. And she went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell.
Didn't happen. I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
You don't remember meeting her?
No.
During November 2019, Andrew faced Emily Maitlis on BBC Newsnight and delivered one of broadcasting's most notorious statements. He claimed a medical inability to sweat, allegedly caused by adrenaline overdose during the Falklands War. This became his defense against accusations of dancing at a nightclub with a young woman who later made far more serious allegations against him.
She was very specific about that night. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. It was almost impossible for me to sweat.
His logic was straightforward. If he couldn't produce sweat, he couldn't have been the person described in those damaging accounts. Page witnessed that interview and responded immediately, stating he had personally observed Andrew sweating multiple times during his palace years. Other staff members were equally astonished by the absurd claim.
Because he had a police officer picking up golf balls. I just couldn't believe that a police officer was acting as a ball boy. So obviously that stuck in my mind. You know, it was a hot day, it was a hot summer's day. I was sweating, you know, and he was whacking golf balls. And if you're wiping your brow, what are you wiping off your face? As far as I'm concerned, he was sweating, and that's what I saw.
The most troubling aspect isn't the sweating controversy itself, which has almost become comedic. What should deeply concern everyone is the timeline. Andrew made that televised claim in 2019, but Paige had been discussing Andrew's problematic behavior well before that interview aired.
At the moment, again, it's his word, and that's all he's got. But there are no witnesses to confirm that, so that is just what he is saying.
Palace staff knew that defense was completely fabricated. Yet nobody, not the BBC, not the Palace press office, not any major institution, brought Paige forward on camera to share what every colleague already understood. It required years ITV's involvement, 60 Minutes Australia flying crews to London, and independent channels willing to platform someone the establishment had dismissed, partly because Paige carries personal complications.
I got myself into a lot of trouble when I was a Royal Protection Officer. I basically was dealing in shares. I became a millionaire while I was a Royal Protection Officer in my own right before I got in trouble. And I basically started investing police officers' money as well. And it came to a point where I was just hemorrhaging money. It started off well, we were making money, and I was dealing with millions of pounds, and the stress got to me, and I started losing money. So I turned to fraud. I went to court, I was held to account for my actions, and I spent 6 years in prison.
Paige was convicted of $3 million property fraud in 2009, served his sentence, and both the Palace and tabloids have weaponized that conviction to undermine his credibility on every other topic. However, there's something the Palace has consistently avoided doing. They've never directly refuted the teddy bear story, never denied the screaming episodes, never officially challenged the sweating observations. They attack Paige personally while leaving his specific claims unaddressed.
Back in 2009 wasn't really relevant to today's situation with Prince Andrew. Over the years, what I said has now become relevant, and so the press started using bits and pieces from what I'd said. So I thought, at the end of the day, it's what I said. I've got to stand by what I said because it's 100% true. So I'm on no revenge mission. I just feel that Prince Andrew has got a case to answer on all levels, including bullying. And I suffered at the hands of Prince Andrew. Young girls suffered at the hands of Prince Andrew. His maids, other police officers, and members of staff. But none of this has ever been looked into because people were too frightened. And also it's important for the public around the world to understand, just because you've got a title, and as I said previously, it does not mean that you are a good person.
I do think there's a huge scandal here. It's only going to get bigger. It's not just about financial and sexual misdemeanors. It's, I think, a national security scandal, and we're getting hints of that already.
Paul Paige represents a former protection officer with a criminal history. Easy to discredit. But what occurs when the source becomes impossible to dismiss? What happens when someone with impeccable credentials starts making identical claims?
Well, it took me 4 years of research, and I approached about 3,000 people, about 300 talked to me. And it took a lot of time to get a lot of these people to go on the record, but I think a lot of them were pretty appalled by the way that Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson had operated, had got away with it, had been protected by the palace. And I suppose I then got these senior diplomats and naval officers to talk, which was great.
Dr. Andrew Loney authored a comprehensive work titled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, examining Andrew, Fergie, their financial dealings, their various scandals, and their extensive network of connections.
I've just been able to reveal today that she was actually in touch with Epstein for years afterwards, staying in his flats.
The book thoroughly explored the Jeffrey Epstein relationship, among other controversial topics. It achieved bestseller status in the UK, with critics praising it as meticulously researched, built on hundreds of interviews and freedom of information requests. Then came time for American publication, and everything changed.
You faced an unprecedented wall of resistance on the part of the Yorks in your pursuit of the truth, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I mean, I approached them originally to see if they would cooperate, not because it was not going to be authorised, but because I felt it was important that they should be allowed to help shape the narrative.
So you approached Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson?
Yes.
Loney secured U.S. rights with Simon & Schuster's Gallery Books imprint for a reported $250,000 advance. Early editorial feedback praised the material as comprehensive, needing only structural refinement. Then, weeks later, the publisher abruptly canceled the contract, declaring the manuscript unacceptable, without providing the full 90-day revision period his contract guaranteed. Loney is now pursuing several $100,000 in damages, claiming the decision destroyed his American market opportunities.
And my publishers got letters, legal letters, warning them that they were being watched, what they put in the book. I was told that my social media would be monitored, and that their attempts were made basically to intimidate me.
Consider this sequence. A book succeeds commercially in the UK. America's largest publisher acquires it. Their editors approve the content quality. Then someone pulls the plug weeks before publication. Loney reports that archives repeatedly denied him access to Andrew and Fergie documents, citing security concerns or claiming materials were unavailable.
So I had a meeting with Sarah Ferguson. She decided not to cooperate. She decided, in fact, to tell all her friends not to talk to me.
He states the York family instructed associates not to cooperate with his research, and alleges ABC News in America was warned they'd lose royal access if they aired critical Andrew coverage, resulting in the story being dropped. While there's no signed palace letter ordering the book's cancellation, when archives block access, families refuse cooperation, broadcasters retreat, and publishers withdraw weeks before printing, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore.
I think the worry is that there are more damaging revelations to come, which there are. I have a lot of material which I'm putting into an updated paperback in the summer. I know that there are much more to come out from the Epstein revelations. We're beginning to see them today. And I think we will now get more victims coming forward, and I think more people coming forward with stories. And I think this thing will begin to unfurl. It's going to be really bad.
He just hoped he could silence everything. But of course you can't, because he is guilty on so many levels. And that is the great problem for the royal family. He is a permanent time bomb.
Tom Bower built his reputation writing books that powerful people despise. The Beckhams, Meghan, Charles. If you faced public embarrassment, Bower likely has a manuscript about it. Regarding Andrew, Bower has been remarkably direct, calling him a professional con man.
That when he decided to do the interview with Newsnight, he clearly rehearsed how he was going to explain the photograph in the park and everything, and went into that interview with clear determination to lie, not only clearly about his relationship with Epstein, but also his relationship with Virginia Giuffre and the rest of the things. And what is remarkable is looking at his face as he lies. It is the face of a professional con man, a professional liar.
He characterized the Newsnight interview as masterful deceit and publicly warned that Epstein files and emerging memoirs, including Virginia's forthcoming book, could trigger what he terms a major constitutional crisis for the monarchy.
This is the Duke of York. This is the royal family, willingly going onto TV and lying to the world about his relationship. And there was no compulsion for him to do it. We are really approaching, in my view, that along with Prince Harry and all the rest of it, a major constitutional crisis.
The detail that captured widespread attention wasn't any of that analysis. It was a single statement. During interviews and panel discussions, Bower declared, "This is the chapter the palace hoped I would never write." That line ignited YouTube commentary channels, sparking speculation about hidden material involving Andrew, Meghan, or both. Some claimed there was a completed chapter that publishers feared to print. Whether that chapter was formally deleted, diluted, or remains in Bower's files, nobody outside his office knows definitively. But the message resonated clearly. There are aspects of Andrew's story that powerful figures have worked extensively to suppress. Bower is indicating he's uncovered some of them, which connects Page, Loney, and Bower. Three entirely different individuals with no shared agenda, yet all telling identical stories about pushback whenever someone approached Andrew's full truth.
What's your take on everything with the Prince Andrew interview?
Well, do you know what? I didn't know him that well. Andrew wasn't in my satellite, and I've never really known him, and that's the honest truth. I feel sorry for the victims of this paedophile.
Paul Burrell spent years as Princess Diana's butler, living within the palace system and observing how decisions were made, scandals managed, and how the institution consistently prioritized its own survival above everything else, including the people within it. Burrell has publicly discussed the royal family's instinct to close ranks, describing a culture where institutional protection always supersedes individual welfare.
I spent 5 years trying to get access to this sort of information, and I think committees in the House of Commons should be looking at a proper investigation into Andrew's time as a trade envoy, because he was helped and abetted by a whole series of people. I would like a lot of people who wouldn't talk to me for my book.
While Burrell wasn't Andrew's butler and didn't directly witness events at Royal Lodge, his perspective matters not for specific Andrew evidence, but for his understanding of the system itself. The same system Page says shielded Andrew from staff complaints. The same system Loney says obstructed his research. The same system that allegedly warned ABC News away from critical coverage.
And I love Queen Elizabeth. I suspect that she was trying to protect who we know to be her favorite son.
I think that's why nothing really severe did happen to him when the Queen was still alive.
Diana confided in Burrell about family dynamics, internal pressures, and institutional operations. Years before Andrew's legal troubles became public, Burrell was already warning that the royal family habitually swept problems under carpets until those carpets could no longer contain them. He didn't need to predict Andrew's arrest specifically. He predicted the system that made such an arrest inevitable.
We've known about this since 2011. Yes, he may have denied it to the Queen, but they certainly knew in the palace, and they monitor everything that goes on. And so for 14, 15 years, there has been a conspiracy of silence, and there's been a conspiracy by many at various levels not to tell the truth, I allege.
Queen Elizabeth II publicly supported Andrew until nearly the end of her life, even after the Newsnight catastrophe, the allegations, and the civil settlement. While she stripped him of official duties, he retained residence at Royal Lodge, maintained family access, and remained by all credible accounts her favorite son.
Now I think brother to brother, the king has had to say, no more, Andrew, you are not doing this to our family.
For decades, biographers and journalists documented how the monarchy protected Andrew through restricted access, blocked archive requests, and discouraging critical media coverage. Elizabeth didn't create this protective system, but she permitted its operation around her son far longer than almost anyone else would have tolerated. King Charles declared the law must take its course after his mother's death, while William reportedly pushed more aggressively behind the scenes for Andrew's permanent marginalization. The arrest followed. Search warrants were executed, devices seized from multiple properties, and for the first time, the combined weight of legal action, lawsuits, and publishers willing to challenge royal pressure proceeded without a queen's intervention. Elizabeth likely didn't possess some single devastating secret about Andrew locked away. That's not how institutional protection operates. What she maintained was decades of knowledge about who her son truly was behind closed doors. The explosive temper, the sense of entitlement, the questionable relationships. She repeatedly chose protection over exposure. Not as a secret she took to her grave, but as a daily decision throughout her reign. February 2026 brought Andrew's arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office, with police seizing electronics and documents from Royal Lodge and Wood Farm, while the National Crime Agency became involved. Legal experts called it the monarchy's biggest crisis since the 1936 abdication. And somewhere among interview recordings and published books, Page, Loney, Bauer, and Burrell shared the same realization. They had warned everyone years earlier. Each attempted to place pieces of Andrew's story on public record. Page was labeled a liar. Loney's book was withdrawn. Bauer was dismissed as sensationalist. Burrell was written off as gossip. None are celebrating now, but none are surprised either, because their story about a man who believed rules didn't apply to him, protected by an institution that agreed, just became a criminal investigation. While we don't yet know what those seized devices will reveal, we do know that for 20 years, people closest to Andrew's world tried speaking out, and for 20 years, the protective system ensured nobody listened by calling them liars when they were simply ahead of their time.